you'll see in this flat here that I've got tomatoes, and these are winter growth tomatoes for my breeding work. But the tall ones are indeterminates, this side and this side. And here is a dwarf variety that I'm breeding, and right next to it is what my ideal plant is going to be. This is the next generation of brandy bear, and you can see the height of brandy bear is here. Indeterminates are about, I'd say, 30 to 40% higher, and brandy bear is about 30 to 40% higher than a dwarf. So what I'm looking for is, what I really enjoy is indeterminate growth, but dwarfism creates other issues I'm starting to notice. So what I prefer is compact growth, something that grows is a true indeterminate. It means every single sucker is capable, has a growing tip and will remain a growing tip, and it'll continue to grow all seasons long. Only the distance between the leaves, this leaf and the next leaf, say from here to up here, is shorter. These are my two dwarfs. These are both appear to be Parthenocarpic. I won't know for sure until I get the mature fruit and cut them open, but you can see here that it looks like I emasculated this one. This one's almost assuredly not going to have seeds in it, and it's growing anyway. The same over here on this side, you could see one here and one here that I emasculated. Now down here I've got one that is ripened enough that I can take it, and I'll show you that. But one of the things I like and kept about these two varieties is how symmetrical the fruit is. The parents of both of these make the type of beefsteak shape that I don't like, which is common in heirlooms, and that's where they just kind of look like a horseshoe shape, and the stem is way in the middle of that, so when you try to cut it, especially on a smaller tomato, you don't get a whole slice without cutting into the core. So I prefer a more globe shape, more round and pristine. That's one of my breeding goals. But before that even is, of course, the Parthenocarpy, and then after that's taste, and then plant structure and all that sort of thing. So dwarves are a little bit harder for me because I had to breed for two separate things. I had to breed both for dwarfism, which is a short stature you see here, and these are less than 3 foot tall, probably about 2.5 foot tall, and I also had to breed for Parthenocarpy. So in order to get that, you have to breed a lot of plants to get that, and I think I have two. Even if I get one that is Parthenocarpic, that's a success, because I've got one that I can now breed with that I know is Parthenocarpic. And dwarfism is 25% of all plants in the second generation. So dwarfism's easy, easy by itself. Of course, Parthenocarpy is easy by itself too, but together they're a pain in the butt. Like one in every, I don't know exactly, 40 to 50 plants. So anyway, let me cut this off right there, that one, and I'll give you a closer up look of it, cut and everything like I normally do with my tomato reviews. But I wanted to also show you too, one of the things that I've read, even within dwarfism, there's a difference in leaf structure. Like here, you see this leaf, see how it's kind of short and compact, and they all tend to have the ruffles on the leaves like this one. But see how this leaf looks in comparison to this one? This is the one I really like. This one's okay. It's a little bit taller, but this one really looks kind of like a Christmas tree. It looks very, very nice. The leaves are very healthy. They're not this is kind of what a lot of tomatoes plants will do after a while. They'll kind of curl under and do that sort of thing. I think the parent of both of these it's Brandy Bear, but I think that one tends to do that some. But this one I really like. And there were other versions, and this one was really good too for plant structure. Not as good as this one, but much better than others that had both the Parthenocarpy and dwarfism. So let me get that tomato. All right, here's a tomato. We're going to cut it up and look at it, but I wanted to mention a couple things. First off, it is the middle of January, and this plant's entire life has been grown in cooler to really cold environment. So it does affect other parts of the plant, how fast it grows, the size of the fruit, and the quality of the fruit. In addition, during the winter time, the days are not bright. There are a lot of hazy days, cloudy days, and the only source of light, the majority of the sources of light, is LED lights, which are directly above me. So that being said, I'm quite certain that the tomatoes will be more robust. The next generation that's hopefully within this tomato here will be more robust and have bigger fruit because both of the parents were larger fruit. Brandy Bear is 10 to 12 ounce tomatoes somewhat regularly during the summer. They were about 8 to 10 ounces here during the winter. And so the other parent, I'm not in the habit of giving out the names of the breeding work that I breed to. I don't think it's really pertinent to where the tomato's going. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut this open. And this is what the tomato looked like. It looks like more or less like a Brandy Bear, but really small, very similar color. The parent of this one was a dark tomato, the other parent, and a dwarf. So the next generation, which will be the third generation, this is the second generation. The third generation should have a couple dark in it if I grow out a lot of dwarfs. And that's what I tend to do in the third generation after I've acquired Parthenocarpy. Every generation after this will be seedless Parthenocarpic. They'll grow without having to be pollinated. So now in the third generation, the genes will have tightened up to become more homozygous, or that's where there's less diversity. So by the time it's in 8th generation, every seed saved from every tomato is going to be exactly the same. But until you get to the 8th generation, the diversity is all over the place. So the third generation is going to have a 50% tightening of the genes, but there will still be different color tomatoes. But because Parthenocarpy and dwarfism is recessive, they're a recessive gene, those two genes are homozygous. They will not change because they're a recessive homozygous, and that's just the way it works in genetics. So let me cut this open. I'm going to get a weight on it, and I'm going to cut it open and get a Brix and a taste. The taste really doesn't matter to me. I've already had to go above and beyond to try to get a plant itself. So taste right now is not that important. I can focus on taste in the next generation. So this is let's do it in ounces. That's ounces. Hopefully you can see that. That is 2.6 ounces, just over 2.5 ounces, which is pretty small. And like I said, hopefully next generation will be more. Alright, so now I'm going to cut it open, and this is a Brix tester. I'm going to Brix test it too. I imagine it'll be somewhere between both parents. So, and it's not completely ripe, so it's going to be a little less Brix. Now, before I do this, I don't know if this has seeds in it or not. They have the long sepals, so I didn't emasculate or take the male parts of the flower out, so it's likely going to have seed. And I do need seed. But I also have emasculated other examples on there that are growing, so I should be able to show you some seedless fruit as well. But for the next generation, the only way to get that is through seeds. So hopefully this one has seeds. Okay. It does have seeds. You can see seeds here and here and here, here and here, but it's not overflowing with seeds. But there is a good bit of seeds. Like this one doesn't have any seeds in it at all. This one doesn't have any seeds in it at all. And normally a tomato has seeds and everything. So this one was partially pollinated, is the best way to put it. So I get to save seed. Yay, I've got seeds for the next generation. Alright, let me get a bricks. Whoa, it's more than I expected. It is almost 6 on the brick scale. Now that is very high for a slicer / beefsteak, and in my winter grow room for sure. Almost all, Brandy Bear had 6 consistently and above. Everything else besides Brandy Bear was below 5. Lemon Boy is one that I grew that had a brick at 5, maybe a tad higher at one point, but everything else was 4 or 3. So this is that's good news. That means that the genetics for taste looks like it passed through. So I do want to taste it, but I don't want to take out seed. So I'm going to find an area that doesn't have seed or much seed. This one has a seed. So I'm going to take and put that one on the paper towel and then cut this piece off to taste. And then I'll put this seed back on there and collect it. Alright, let me taste it. That is very good. I can definitely taste the parent Brandy Bear in it. It's got that great zing. That is a plus I did not expect. So that's really, really good. Because it's hard to lose taste from this point forward. So that's really good. It's really good. I'm going to produce this video at some point in the future. I'll cover dwarfs again, and if I actually did get seedless versions of that. That's the only test to point to whether or not it's Parthenocarpic. I mean, I see evidence because the plant, whenever you have a flower, tomato flower, it's got the petals back here and they open up, and then they got the front, the part that looks like a cone. It's actually called an anther cone. And within the anther cone, if you were to open it up, there's these little tubes of pollen. And within that anther cone is a stigma right here, this other finger, and on the end is where pollen sticks to. So the anther cone covers the stigma, and when it shakes, the pollen from this anther cone, remember the flower looks like this more or less, that pollen falls onto the stigma and fertilizes it. And that's how you get seeds. So emasculating means I take tweezers. I have a video showing this on too, how to make your own tomato cross if you want to see it in detail. So I take the tweezers and I pull off these male pieces that have the pollen, and the only thing sticking out is the female piece with nothing but a sticky part on the end, so there's no way pollen can fall on it. So emasculating is one way I determine if that emasculated flower that cannot get pollinated grows a tomato. That tells me it's Parthenocarpic. That's one indicator, the primary indicator that's Parthenocarpic. That's what I keep the plants based off of. But the cutting open of the fruit that was emasculated and finding no seeds is the definitive that it is Parthenocarpic. So that's the part I need to show in the future, and I will, because I'm pretty confident this one is Parthenocarpic. But for now, I'll go ahead and publish this video. This is Brent, you guys. I'm going to collect the seed, and that is how I am breeding the seedless dwarf tomatoes.